Hi, and welcome to a Bentley AssetWise Transportation Asset Management Tech Talk, where today we'll review some of the new National Street Gazetteer editing capabilities that are being added to AssetWise's linear referencing services. AWLRS is a browser-based spatial editing solution from Bentley Systems used around the world for fast, reliable, and effective linear reference network editing. My colleagues have been through much of the functionality in other tech talks, and these can be found online via various Bentley Transportation Asset Management channels. But let's have a quick recap of the main tools for those who may not have seen them already. First of all, here in the top left, we have the usual zoom tools, such as zoom in, zoom out, zoom to region, zoom to default extent. We also have the option to go back and forth between map movements using the previous and next extent buttons. Next, we have the home view button, which will take you back to the initial view you see when first logging into the application. This is a multi-option button to take you back to the user home view or to open the previously stored map view from a catalogue using the Load Extent option. The Load Extent dialog lists a number of previously saved map views, which includes customized layer display settings and not just the center point location and scale. To add a new saved map extent view, we use an option available using the Save View button, which is shown here in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The main Save button will set the current AWLRS screen view as your home view, but if you select the Options menu on the Save button, you can choose to save extent, and this will save the map view within your user-defined extent list to be utilised later. Let's call this example Demo Extent, and click Save, open the Load Extent dialog, and now the Demo Extent example we created can be seen and used from the Load Extent tool. Let's have a quick look at some of the other examples I've already prepared, such as this height, width and weight restrictions example in West Ham, or these lane rental streets in the London Borough of Southwark, or even just an interesting airplane mid-flight near the M25 on the satellite photography base map. Let's switch back to our saved home view, and now have a look at the Select tool, which has several options: select by point, by rectangle, or by polygon. This tool will display selection results based on your selectable layers, and we'll discuss this a little more later. Next, we have the Measure tool, which also has several options available: measure by line, by area, or calculate a linear reference along a datum. Let's draw a line, and here you can see that the results can be shown in either metric or imperial units. Next is the Center Map tool, where you can focus the map to a particular set of coordinates using several different coordinate systems. You also have an option to display a map marker at the precise coordinate entered. Next is the Search tool, which opens the quick search bar at the top of the screen. This tool searches your active layers based on pre-configured attributes. You can also define an advanced search using a complex query of when, and or clauses, which can also be saved and loaded for later use. Next, we have the Remove Graphics button, which clears the AWLRS map of any lingering objects, such as the map marker pin we placed earlier. Below that, we have the Edit tool, but we'll come back to this when we create a new street in a few moments. In the bottom left corner is the Scale tool, which can be used to select a predefined scale. Or you can manually enter your own specific value. Next to the Scale tool is a box which shows the coordinates of the mouse cursor, which changes dynamically as I move the mouse across the map. In the bottom right area, we have the Map Layers tool, which opens the Map Layers dialog. This dialog window can be moved to a more convenient location, stretched to increase the view, and minimized to view the map in more detail. Let's turn on a custom layer which shows all streets where Transport for London are the primary noticing authority according to the National Street Gazetteer Type 61 records. And let's also select all street type data along with it. Now let's have a look at the Active tab, which shows a list of layers chosen from the catalogue. Various options are available. For example, you can alter the transparency of a particular layer, set the selectability for the Select tool, show the layer legend, move a particular layer up and down the rendering order list, flip between hide and show, remove from the list, and even export the layer to a shapefile or CSV. The Background tab provides a list of base maps such as those served by an external WMS server. Here we can toggle the visibility of a base map and alter the transparency and rendering order similar to the active layers. However, you cannot export a base map layer like you can with the other active layers, and this is enforced for copyright reasons. Finally, we have the Legend tab, which provides a view of all the thematic legends for the current active layers. We covered the Save tool earlier, but to the right of that is the Print button, which allows us to export the current map view to a PDF file with various options. In the top right area of the screen, we have the Map Overview window, which enables you to quickly pan the map to farther locations. Above this, we have the Effective Date menu, which allows you to view what the network data looks like on a particular date. The Question button provides options to view our online help catalogue, or the About AssetWise page to view any legal notices, acknowledgements, and version information. And last but not least, we have the User Profile button, which provides various options such as user preferences, where for example you can set the snap tolerance of actions performed on the map. Now that we've been through the basics, let's create a new street and take a look at the new NSG functionality. Looking at the OpenStreetMap base map, this area over here looks to be missing something. So let's turn on the satellite imagery to add some context. And here we can see that there's an access road and a path at the side of the Tate Modern which hasn't yet been digitised. Let's go ahead and add that. First, we need to click on the Edit button, which opens a dialog window to select a network layer to edit. This particular system only contains NSG data, so let's select the ESU layer and then click Start Editing. The AWLRS map window is now in editing mode, and the Edit button has changed to a range of different tools. We have Create Datum, Create Node, Datum Trace, Edit Datum, which is selected by default, and Transfer Attributes. Let's choose the Edit Datum tool and use it to split the ESU where the access road to the right of the Tate Modern joins with Park Street. As I click on the existing ESU, AssetWise opens a radial context menu, which consists of a range of actions I can perform on the selected network element, such as Create Street, Undo, Copy Geometry, Replace, Recalibrate, Reshape, Split at Measure, End Date, and Show Attributes. Let's select Split at Measure, and as we move the mouse cursor over the ESU, a tooltip displays the linear reference measure to help with precision. I'll click here, and now the Split at Measure dialog window is shown, which is populated with the location of where I click to split the ESU. Here we can refine the chosen split point and set the direction of the two ESUs that will be created as a result of the Split at Measure action. Now using the Create Datum tool, let's create a new ESU starting from the new node shown where we just split that ESU. First I'll click on the existing node, then I'll click to add new vertices and define the shape, then double click to complete the action which opens the Create New Datum Element dialog. Let's call it Demo 1 and save. Next I'll create 2 more ESUs that I'll then use to help me demonstrate some of the other tools when we populate the NSG street details in just a moment. Now that we have our 3 ESUs for the new street, let's go ahead and create it using the Edit Datum tool. Clicking on an ESU opens the radial menu as before. However, if we hold down the Control button on the keyboard, we can now multi-select a second ESU, and the radial menu changes to only show relevant actions for our selection, such as Create Street, Shared Reshape, Merge, and Show Attributes. Holding down Control again, let's multi-select the third ESU, and now select Create Street. The Create Street action opens the NSG Streets form in a separate browser window. This enables you to separate the main AWLRS window from the Streets form, so each can be viewed side by side on separate monitors, thus allowing you to edit the Streets form while viewing the main AWLRS map for added context. The Street tab on the NSG Streets form contains all of the Type 11 NSG Street attributes. Below the text attributes is another map window which highlights the ESUs on the street, or in this case, the ones we chose to add to this new street. Let's call this new street Tate Walkway and complete the mandatory fields that are highlighted with a red border. Drop-down list of values such as this one can contain many values, but rather than scroll through the list to find the value you need, you can start typing in some letters and numbers from the value you want, and the list will dynamically reduce based on what you enter. Once you're happy with all the details you've entered for the new street, click Save, and then new tabs will be shown for the other relevant NSG information. On the ESU tab, we can select an ESU from the list to highlight it on the map below. Clicking on an ESU ID allows us to view and edit the associated data. Let's create a one-way exemption for this ESU with an exemption for buses and a periodicity set to every day. Let's also create a highway dedication record for this ESU with the dedication type set to cycle track or cycleway. Next, we have the Cross References tab. However, as we created brand new ESUs for this street, we don't have any other streets that cross-reference them to show here. Next, we have the Interest tab, where we can create a new Type 61 record for the new street. Let's complete these mandatory fields. And now let's make this a partial street record and show you some of the ASD Geometry capabilities. Here in the top left-hand corner of the dialog, we can click the Minimize button to hide the textual data area, or we could simply scroll down. Now let's select the Edit button on the map and view the options. Here I can select to create a path, a polyline, or a polygon. Let's create a complex path at the intersection of the ESUs. As I hover over the ESUs, a point is snapped to the line, and a tooltip is also displayed to show us the precise coordinates. After the first click, a separate movable dialog window opens to help you precisely define the ASD coordinate path. As we click a second point, you can see the points being added to the dialog, with an option to edit the linear measures for added precision. Let's add a few more points to make this a complex 3-point path. We can now review the path drawn along these ESUs, which will be converted to Type 67 coordinate records for the NSG. Let's review the textual details, and now save the record. Now we can see our new Type 61 interest record shown on the map. Next, we can define a new Type 62 construction record. Here we can see all the usual NSG attributes, and we can define partial road ASD geometry as we just did for the Type 61 interest record. But let's skip that for speed and move on to creating a new Type 63 special designation. Again, we can see all the usual NSG attributes for this type of record, and we can define partial road ASD geometry. Let's set this designation to be a special engineering difficulty, such as a culvert or bridge. Set the periodicity, make it a partial record, define the written location and description, and then using the edit tool on the map, draw a polygon to represent its location. After double-clicking on the last point, a new dialog box opens. Here we can choose to reshape the geometry in order to refine it. And once we're happy with the shape, click Create. And now click Save. And now we have our Type 63 record with an off-network ASD polygon geometry. Next, let's create a new Type 64 height, width or weight restriction record. Let's make this a width restriction. Again, let's make this a partial road record, but this time with an independent polyline. I'm happy with the geometry, so let's go ahead and click Create and then save the record. The last tab on the NSG Streets form is for Type 66 public rights-of-way records. Here we can see the fields available under the NSG DTF 8.1 format, but as this is not a Type 3 street, let's cancel and skip this step. Now that we've completed all those records, let's close the NSG Streets form browser tab to return to AWLRS, which is still in editing mode, so let's click Stop Editing. And now we can see our new street on the map. Using the Select tool, let's click on the street. This action opens the selection results dialog, which displays separate tabs containing data for each of the selectable map layers. On the Type 1 and 2 Streets tab, we can click this button to view the street record in the NSG Streets form. Here we can view or edit the street details further. For example, let's end date the membership of one of the ESUs and close it at the same time. There are many other features and little touches in AWLRS that I could show you, but that brings us to the end of the demonstration for today. Thank you for watching.